Welcome to Adobe Photoshop Tutorials. My name is Brent, and today I'll be going over the Move tool in Photoshop Creative Cloud. So here I have a picture of a kitten, and I have the Move tool selected, which is at the top of this bar on the left. Just by clicking on the kitten, I can move him around any place I want, just like that. Now, if I only want to move him on the vertical axis, all I have to do is hold the Shift key, click, and start moving him upwards. Now he's locked into that vertical axis. I can't move him on the horizontal. Now if I do the same thing but start moving him on the horizontal axis, well then he'll lock into that one too. Same goes for the diagonal axis if I choose to move him diagonally. Something else neat we can do with the short keys on our keyboard, if you hold down the Option key, which I'm on a Mac, it's the Alt key if you're on a PC, hold down, click, and drag, you'll create a copy of that cat. In fact, you can keep doing it and create as many copies as you want. It's kind of fun. Create a little cat army here. And one thing you should notice is that every time I do this, I'm not creating another image on the same layer. I'm creating new layers for each image. And that's fine. It's okay to work with lots of different layers. Now, let's get in the toolbar at the top here. The first one we have is the auto select. The auto select means if I click on an image, it's going to switch to whatever layer this image is on. So if I click on this guy, it'll switch to that layer and I can move him by himself. I can do the same for him. I can do the same for this cat down here. I can do them for any of them. If I have that unchecked, it's going to stick with whatever layer you're on. So it doesn't matter what image you click on, it's only going to stick with whichever layer you have selected. If you want to select a different one, you got to come down here and do it manually, in which case you can move that one. And it doesn't matter what image you click on, it'll stay on that layer. I like to keep auto select checked because it just saves a little bit of time from switching between layers. Although I will admit that sometimes I will take it off if I want to just work on one layer at a time. So next up is working with groupings. I'm going to select all the cats here and I'm going to hit Command G to turn it into a group. That group has all the layers within it. And I'm going to switch this drop down here from layer to grouping. Now whenever I click one image, it's going to grab that image and every other image that is contained within that group. Pretty straightforward. I'm just grabbing groups at a time. If I go back to layer, it's going to go back to the way it was, where we just grab one and move it independently, and it's not really going to care if they're all in the same group because we're only grabbing one at a time. The next up is the Show Transform Controls. This one's really useful. If I click on that guy there, you'll notice that the selection box now has these little controls that I can grab onto, and these are the transformation controls. I can grab it and I can move it and hit Command Z so it goes back to normal. I can change him in size, in height, width, or however I want, just by moving around like that. I'm going to undo that one more time. Now, if I don't want him to get just fatter or just taller, I want him to stay the same proportions. What I can do is hold the Shift key, grab that corner box, and now he's not going to get taller or fatter. He's only going to get larger in proportion to his original size, or smaller in relation to his proportion size. I'm going to Command Z. Now, if you like the new size, say he's a little bit bigger, you can hit Return, and you accept the transformation. The changes are now set. I'm going to undo that. Furthermore, if you don't like the changes that he has, you can simply hit Escape, and I'll go back to normal. You won't accept the transformation changes. So that's a really useful tool. You'll find yourself using the transform controls quite often with different projects you may take on. So next up we have the alignment tools and the distribution tools. And these work again when you select a number of different images, a number of different layers. You can align them along the topmost image, not the top of the page, but the topmost image. So now I have them all selected here. I'm going to click that. Notice how they align with this guy's ear here, not with the top of the page. Same goes if I align at the bottom. It's going to align with the bottommost image, not the bottom of the page. I can go in the middle, I can go down the middle, I can go on the left, I can go on the right, and I can do whatever I want. Next up are the distribution tools. Now these are kind of neat. So notice how when we align them along the top, This looks kind of cool, but they're kind of clustered together, not evenly distributed. Well, what we can do is click the distribution tool first. Okay, we saw some movement there, not exactly sure what. Well, if you align them horizontally, now you can see that they are aligned perfectly um, with one another, evenly distributed along the horizontal line. So now we have all of our kittens marching in a row. So the last thing we're going to talk about with the movement tool, the last feature, is going to be these 3D mode tools, which they're not selected, they're grayed out, so you can't use them, and you're not going to be able to use them until you do something which I'll show you now. So we're going to work with one single image, right? We're going to go up here to the top, click on 3D from the top bar, and we're going to go to New 3D Extrusion from Selected Layer. So it's going to take that cat layer and it's going to turn it into a 3D model. Okay, I know it looks kind of crazy, but what we're going to do, you can kind of see what it's done here. It's taken the image and it's given it a 3D backing, I guess you can call it. So it kind of makes it pop off the page, and I guess it kind of looks like a stamp to me. But now, if we select it, these tools up here are just how we can move it around on the page. So here we can move it independently, kind of roll it around. With this one, we can rotate it, make it do barrel rolls. This one will help it move in pretty much relatively the same distance from the screen, from the perspective. This one, on the other hand, is going to make it go from the background to the foreground. You can see how it's moving there, coming at you. And the last one's going to be changing the size of it. Notice how it's growing massive, even in the 3D perspective. So that's what those tools do there. I want to go back to layers. I'm going to select the background so you can see that's the final product. All done with the Move tool. So those are all the functions of the Move tool. And you may be thinking, well, that's great and all, but what exactly can I do with it? Well, let me show you a few things you can do with it. Say you have a picture of a bush, and you think, well, this is great and all, but it's got a lot of nice green to it, but it doesn't have much color otherwise. So maybe you want to add some flowers to it, right? So you come and find a picture of a flower just like this one. You say, I want to put this flower on this bush. Well, you can do that pretty easily with the Move tool. You just grab this image, don't worry about the fact that it's moving, just go up here, switch layers, come down here, and let go of the mouse key. Well, that's great, but having a massive flower over the image is probably not what you had in mind. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the transform controls. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's got the control boxes up there. There we go. Yeah, it's a little bit hidden. So we're going to shrink it down, and I'm holding the shift key so it stays in proportion. We're going to do that one more time, maybe twice. Hold the shift key, shrink it down. Alright. I'm going to hit enter to accept the transformation. I'm going to turn that off. There you go. Now you have a nice colorful flower on the bush. Well, maybe you would like more than one flower on the bush. Maybe one kind of looks lonely. We're just going to hold the option key and we can do that very easily. We can create lots of flowers. In fact, we can create as many flowers as we want simply by holding down the shift key. I'm sorry, holding down the option key and multiplying. Cool. Okay, well, that looks better, but notice how they're all pretty much carbon cutouts of one another. There's not much variety. You can really tell that they're all just based off the same flower. Okay, well, let's add a little variety to them. I'm going to highlight that show transformation controls again. I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to hold shift and make this one a little bit smaller. I'm going to give it a bit of a rotate as well. Hit enter to accept. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to do this for a few of them. And while this is not really a great method, it does add a little bit of variety to the different flowers so that they don't all look exactly the same. Do a little bit of a different sizes and rotations on each of them, or at least I'll try to. And it might look a a lot alike. I don't know. I don't care. It's just a little fun assignment. So accept that, and I'll do one more here. Do this one real small. And rotate, accept. Okay. Okay, well, maybe a little bit better. That's cool. So, it only took us a couple seconds. What else can we do with this move tool, though? Well, say you've got a picture of a young lady like this, and she's outside, she's holding some flowers, and you think, it would be really cool if we could add some more color to this too. And maybe we can use this flower again and kind of make a headband of flowers for her. Well, we can do that pretty easily. And you may be thinking, I know what he's going to do. He's going to come over here, he's going to drag this over here, he's going to resize it, he's going to put it right there, and then he's going to hold the Option key and create several more so it kind of looks like a headband. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. You certainly could do it that way, but I'll show you another way you can do it. Save you a couple seconds. I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to select all of these flowers we already have. And I'm going to grab them, I'm going to drag them up here, and let go of it. Okay, well, that's great. What exactly are we doing with all these random flowers floating around? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to move them. We're going to use that alignment tool. I bet you know where I'm going with this now. You'd be right. Yeah, we're going to move them, and we're just going to transform them around there. Maybe a little bit bigger than that. Accept the transformation, let go. Now, probably need to do a little bit more work. Probably add a couple more flowers. Maybe add a band so you can see that they're all connected somehow. But not bad for taking less than a minute's worth of work. So that's it. That's just about everything you can do with the Move tool. Not bad. Created a couple fun little images. Created a 3D cat. Created an army of digital cat. In just a few minutes, and using nothing more in Photoshop than this singular Move tool. So that's it for this tutorial. If you enjoyed it, please click subscribe. You'll get more videos like this one on how to use specific tools in Photoshop. You'll also get some tutorials on how to perform specific tasks, such as removing backgrounds, fixing blemishes, improving lighting on photos. And you'll also get some tutorials on specific design projects, so creating album art, creating book covers, creating graphic design, anything I come up with. I'll teach you how to do that, build stuff from the ground up. So that's it for this tutorial. Thanks again for watching.